Namaskar. You are watching Global Governance News TV. I'm Kumara Case. Just United Nation reforms from every corners of the world. Its demand, and last year, 2019, 2021, September, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi also just in his speech, he just focused and uh, praised just United Nation should be in the new format and reforms should be done, but not the other leaders. Now you have just watching the all scenario, what scenario between Russia and Ukraine, how UNSC is playing, how UNGA is going. So on the contrary, if you see the proposal from the United Nations in the 2017, and United they made a proposal on officially. There is a reform.un.org. The United Nations themselves just uh, praised to need the reforms agenda in the United Nations. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has made proposals to reform the United Nations since the beginning of his term in January 2017. To improve the delivery of our mandate, the United Nations has made sweeping changes in the following areas: development, and 230, I think, uh, 2030 uh, 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 agenda will require bold changes in United Nations development system for the emergence of a new generation of country teams centered on a strategic UN development assistance framework and led by an impartial, independent, and empowered resident coordinator. Management side, a new management paradigm for the Secretariat and the United Nations that empowers managers and staff, simplifies processes, increases transparency, and improves on the delivery of mandates. Peace and security. That is now the talk of the world. The overarching goals of the reform are to prioritize prevention and sustaining peace, enhance the effectiveness and coherence of peacekeeping operations and special political missions, and move towards a single integrated peace and security pillars. And on the official document resources, Mr. Antonio Guterres already shared his view with as he said, with the structural aspect of reforms now will consolidate it, and it's imperative to keep the foot in paddle to achieve the cultural change we need for the greater collaboration across pillars and tangible results for people on the ground. These are the main highlights, and we're not going to details now. But if you see, since 1990, there are many calls for the reforms of the United Nations. However, there is a little clarity on consensus about the what reform might mean in practice. But those who want UN to play a greater role in the world affairs, and those who want its role confined to humanitarian work, or otherwise reduce use the UN reform to refer their ideas. The range of opinion extend from those who want to eliminate it, the UN entirely, and those who want to make it a full-fledged world government. I think that should be the full-fledged world government just for the peace and security and the proper, just the sustainable development goal, whatever UN made. And the Secretaries General has presented, many Secretaries General, numerous ways to implement the new reforms. There have been reforms efforts since the creation of UN and closely associated with each of the Secretary General. Whoever comes, I have met thrice with the then Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. And that time, I think 2011, he appointed Mr. Atul Khare of India, Bharat, to spearhead efforts to implement the reform agenda aimed at streamlining and improving the efficiency of the world body. And Khare will that time lead the change management team CMT at the UN, working with the both developments and offices, with the Secretariat and with the other bodies in United Nations system and 193 member states. And the CMT also talks the guiding the implementation of the reform agenda. But I think this is the only ornamental things, whatever I think we're not going to discuss. Discuss on peace and security and the development, how United Nations is working, how and Security Council reform that is also necessary. Only why the seven nations are already there. There should be more power structure should be changed. That is the more main important body. And transparency reforms is okay. There is no doubt. Democracy reform, call for diversity and democracy. Financial reform, already is going on. Human rights reform, human rights properly defined, and the relocation proposals and creation, removal, addition of the proposed United Nations Parliament Assembly or People's Assembly, whatever. This is, I think, I think, creation of United Nations Development Organization. There is so many organizations already there. UNDZ is there, placing development agency specialized part the UNDZ, UNICEF. There is a UNIFAME. That's earlier it was the uh, 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 for the women and all. So I think so many reforms, but I think now at the present circumstances and what we are going to discuss, that is important that the peace and security and UNSC should be properly reformed. We have the STEAM panelist, uh, Alok Laharji from Spain, senior journalist, and Mr. Rakesh Tiwari ji, always an advocate for the UN reforms agenda, and always he's a favorite subject, as I think. So I think from Canada, living in Toronto, is smiling now. This his nice subject is going to be. So I think today, day of the Rakesh Tiwari ji, I think how just you think how just reform of United Nations 1, 2, 3, 4 points should be done, and I think we should send the letter to Mr. Guterres, Secretary General also. So that will be happy to see your notes on this issue as the Russian and Ukrainian war is going on. Rakesh Tiwari ji, unmute yourself.
And
Unmute yourself, sir.
yes, can you hear me properly?
Yes, sir, properly. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you so much for having me in this important discussion. And let's say one thing, happy Mahashivratri to everybody, to all our viewers who are listening or watching this program. I will say, as you mentioned, smiling part is only one part, the way you have put it. But sadly, this is coming to this way where United Nations, all the nations and who are in the Security Councils, they were like deaf. They were not listening. They were not paying attention. So, in my humble view, United Nations has fallen apart so many times, and this time too it happens. And the necessity of reforms, it is never before. This is like clear and present danger. If this time, and I don't know how United Nations is going to pull this, the whole setup of United Nations, in my humble view, is this, especially the Security Council, that is like giving some few countries extra leverage that they can do anything. So Russia, if has done something with the Ukraine, says that, well, you guys have done it. You went to Afghanistan, you went to Iraq, you went to Yugoslavia, you went to other places. So and every all these five countries who have a veto power, they have utilized it. So the democratization of United Nations should have happened long back, where all nations could have free voice, they could have done, and that pressure would have worked. But when few nations have taken charge of the whole world and they think they are the almighty force, they are the God, and they can do anything and everything, the result we are having it now. So time is sensitive. We are all scared and afraid, and sadly, Indian student from Bharat has become a casualty, and a lot of other people are becoming casualty of failure of United Nations. I will say most certainly, and seems like everybody was like they were having lip services, and afterwards, when Russia has put his force on Ukraine, now they are being awake and putting all kind of sanctions. And I'm, that will become the whole another subject of it. But definitely, more than ever, this is the time, and you know very well, I was always pursuing this matter. I have always mentioned that United Nations is failing, and they should come together, bring country like Bharat, Germany, Brazil, all other important countries, and the whole world should be reflected, and nobody should be having the veto power on it. Nobody should be having the veto power. Veto power itself is a totally undemocratic, and it gives the question mark to the United Nations functions. Thank you.
So actually, always demand for the Alokji for the reforms of United Nations Security Council. That is a very very important and most powerful body of the United Nations. And if you see, I think of long time it is already pending for the inclusion of the permanent members. They are permanent members, only the five permanent members, as you know. So, but China, France, Russia, UK, and United States, and all and due to the just a great fault of our first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, uh, Bharat was not that time, so China become the member of UNSC with the whatever just Rakesh Tiwari saying the veto powers and all. So whatever they, so these are now, and on this, on the contrary, if you see the now non-permanent members as five, including five term by term, 2 years terms. Now, Bharat is also into 2022, Albania, Brazil, Gabon, Ireland, Kenya, Mexico, Norway, and United Arab Emirates. And actually, more than 50 United Nations members have been never been the member of Security Council. There is also a matter of, I think, discussion and litigation. Another way, if you see the structural changes, what should be done, what should not, that is one very important thing. So I have been seeing very closely the matter of the G4 nation. The in G4 nation, if you see Brazil, Germany, India, and Japan, and how just you see G4 nation always trying for the permanent membership, and all are in between, who are opposing and who are supporting. This is also a matter of concern. Just you see who is supporting and who are opposing. That is also a matter. Uh, if you see the on the matter of expansion, that is also necessary. The four G4 is group is composed by Italy and Spain opposing Germany, Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina opposing Brazil, Pakistan opposing Bharat, South Korea opposing Japan, in addition to Turkey, Indonesia, and others. So since 1992, Italy and other council members have instead proposed semi-permanent seats or expanding the number of temporary seats. So what is the reason actually? Earlier it's a P5 and now it's Z4. So accounted for the 8 world 10 largest defense budgets. This is a country, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. So they should be member of the UNSC. They are not. So what's the reason behind this, uh, Alokji, and why don't they just going to be permanent member? If you see the structural changes last 1945, since till date. So what is nonsense is going on at the front of United Nations? I really say nonsense. Please unmute, Alok, unmute yourself. Yeah.
Good evening, Kumar Rakeshi, and thank you for inviting me on the show. And good evening to Rakesh Tiwari ji also and our dear viewers. Why the Security Council is not being expanded? I mean, the vested interest, it's very clear. And the people who are already there in the Security Council, they are pretty happy with the way things are. I mean, with their veto powers, they can do what they feel like. So when we talk about equals, then there are a few more equals than the equals. So that is the concept of equality which we have in the Security Council or in United States as, I'm sorry, not United States, United Nations as such. Now, first the question which we have to ask is, just imagine the number of countries which are there in United Nations. We have the five, continents which are represented in United Nations. And is the representation correct? I mean, more than 25% of the population lives in Asia. The whole world population lives in India and China only. And then we talk about Japan, we talk about Korea, we talk about other Indonesia, all these countries. So a majority of the human population lives in Asia. It does not live in Europe, and Europe is overrepresented. We have UK, we have France there, and now they want to put Germany also, which I have nothing against Germany. They can be part of it, but Asia is only represented by China. And another thing is that once you're making something like United Nations, we should always also talk about what kind of governance is needed in each and every country. I mean, are you telling me that a place where there is a totalitarian regime, or there is some kind of a Khalifa sitting there, or there is a communist regime there, is it as good as a democratic regime? We cannot have, donkeys and horses in the same race. So we have to make this very clear, like what kind of governance do we require world over? It cannot be the choice of the nations. If it is, then there are certain things which are not normal. No, we have to work towards the similar kind of governance, which according to my knowledge, democracy probably is the best form of what is existing. It can have its own problems, but at least, like this is what I feel. It's not that that's the ultimate. There have been earlier forms like monarchies. Should they be existing in 21st century or not? That's another question. Now, first and foremost is representation. How many countries from Africa or Latin America or from Asia are present in the Security Council, in case we are limiting ourselves only to the Security Council? And the second reform, which at least in my point of view is there, is, once you form a homogeneous group, then it has to have the similar kind of text structuring. It should have similar kind of priorities, similar kind of governance, and that is very important. I think the second part is more difficult to achieve. There'll be lots of countries which will not be agreeing to what I'm saying, and I'm certain Mr. Tawari might also have a different opinion to mine, but that's okay. I mean, that's what democracy is all about.
Okay. Okay.
But I think the first and foremost is that we should have equal, or if not equal, a very good representation of the five continents. Africa is underrepresented, Latin America is underrepresented. Same with
Australia also. Australia also.
Australia in the continent, there are only two countries, and since they are more aligned to the Western world, and I'm surprised they're not part of NATO, but they could be, but they are part of other alliances. But I think they also get their representation in one way or the other. The least represented countries are Africa, Latin America, and Asia.
Yeah. So nice. Just just this case, the already just reformed the United Nations and UNSC, and then I'll just take the other way, the democratization of the United Nations. This time a break, and after a break, I'll just take Tiwari and just you, how the just a nice point to be just for the reforms in United Nations. Time a break. Welcome to the break. Just we are discussing the necessity to reforms in United Nations, and now in the parallel way, just you see Russian-Ukrainian war is on, and many talks as going on. I hope for the peace. I think, but not talking the non-violence. Violence is there. So many videos and viral and so many ways how just Russian behaving with Ukraine, and Ukraine just claiming that just they have killed 200, 4,300 Russians and 200 just already military equipments and whatever. But I'm not going on that. So I think the United Nations is the main body, and only they issuing the statement only. I think the only calling, but they should take action on the country, as is Russia is a member of UNSC, permanent member of it. So we can see just in Hindi, and word exact word is not in English, dabangai. So that should not be accepted for any way. But Tiwari ji, this is a democratic reform. If you talk, the frequently demand in United Nations more democratic. What does mean democratic when the key institution in the world democracy raises fundamental questions about the nature, a role of United Nations. United Nations is not the world government, rather the forum of the world's sovereign states to debate issues and determine the collective courses of action. But why not United Nations taking the action against any countries who are just trying to disrupt the world peace? Anyhow, and I think that should be the direct democracy system. Why not? There is also International Court of Justice. There is all the wings. We
Okay,
are we have.
let me come back. Let me come on the
Please,
point. Well,
please.
let me just mix it up with you a bit. Your this the media organization you're running is called Global Governance, and I would say, and the in Hindi or Urdu you say Mozu topic. That's the current situation. We are talking about global governance as well, and
Yeah,
and I'm so sometimes puzzled with this, that what the when we talk about the United Nations, and which is in a way taking the flag of democracy right, left, and center, and trying to teach the whole world, itself, its foundation is undemocratic. Totally. How can you allow it? The privileged one, 5 countries, and they can do whatever they want, and they have been doing since the beginning. So for me, I mean, should we try to, like, I'm in a dilemma. Please help me out here. Should we try to save, or should I say that, well, let me miss. I don't have much in power other than Bhagwan Mahakal, that if he can do something, that I think is already dead. United Nations has been dead, and it has been worked. It has been in the hands of, I will say, the five veto power countries. They have done whatever they want to, and this has been going on since long, and nobody's hand is, you can say that, are there, they what we use in Hindi word doodh ka dhola, means nobody is it can be spared on it, that they don't have the blood on their hands of the innocent people of and the countries which are not as powerful as them. So when Western world is questioning, so the question comes back to them too. Yesterday I was speaking to, and that somehow, Miss, I'm not going to sympathize with Russia and whatever they did. I cannot say in my conscience that what they did is right, because two wrongs doesn't make a right. If US has invaded other countries, okay, on the name of democracy, so did Russia too when they went to Afghanistan, and this time too, whatever that this and I go with the Bharat's point of view, Prime Minister Modi's point of view, that this invasion or the bloodshed should stop immediately. Damage has been already done, but now who is going to raise the voice? I think is at the right place, and I thank your program, because this is the right time to speak to. Also, if we don't speak, we don't ask for the reforms, then he's already dead. If some injections, some, I will say, trying to bring alive the United Nations to spirit, then the one thing must go, means no matter what you try to do the patch up work, the most important thing, that the veto power of all these 5 countries must go, and its current form, United Nations, is not respected among the in the world. A lot of other countries, they said, they are playing, there's some bargaining whatever is happening, but they know that this is not a democratic institution. Means, look at this. Miss, I know, and we both know that Hindi language is number one language in the world, and it doesn't have its place in United Nations top 6 languages. And we are talking about democracy. Bharat is the largest democracy in the world, and it doesn't have its place, permanent place in the over there. So does others. So when we talk about United Nations, I think in the beginning, when they had given the power to top 5 countries, the failure was written right then and there. So year after year it was happening, we were ignoring. Now Western democracies, they are screaming, they are crying, they are making noises. Well, you better open the door. And all these veto power countries must have to give up their right. That's what is coming to my mind. As per
Okay.
question, I want to give my one last view on the Russia and Ukraine front. Miss, let me say this, and I will use a famous, uh, one-liner of Harivansh Rai Bachchan, which he has sung for, written for his son. "मेरे अंगने में तुम्हारा क्या काम है?" And that's what is the real issue is there. Russia is saying, you know what, you reached till the Poland. Now, if NATO is reaching to Ukraine, which was used to be part of Russia, then our security, we have been standing and by you or not by you, in front of you since the Second World War happened, and we cannot let you on in our backyard. They are saying it, and so that's what US has done it too. So we are talking about the world level politics here. Russia has its own thinking, own
Okay.
view of it, and they have not overcome of the breaking away of Soviet Russia. That's what is the reality. And I can somehow because we have been gone through the separation and breaking up of countries too, and where Western countries, Western powers has played a major role on it. Okay, we
Okay.
our generations are suffering for that. So all these things, all this, you can say that kind of bombs are coming. So if we are not opposing directly Russia, so all those who have taken part in breaking of Bharat, they must know that. Thank you.
Okay, so nice. So thank you, Tiwari ji. Alok ji, one important question. United Nations has own peacekeeping force. Very interesting. They have the peacekeeping force, and what the peacekeeping force activity doing, there is a process. They call to all country, saying they are the best, and the troops and officers to join us. They pay heavy, I think, perks and all. This is also a matter of pride for the every country to send their forces and military person and the police forces to send the UN peacekeeping force. I know there's so many stories. One. Number two, there is a group. I have seen very closely activity of G4 nations. They are long time. They are waiting for the turn. G4 in and just as I told you, in G4, the Brazil and Bharat and Japan and all. Uh, I think I just
Germany,
forget. Uh,
Germany.
Germany. Yeah. So I think four countries, and these politics of four country already depend on that how the position is there. They are discontent among the present permanent members. Just we can see in Hindi dadagiri. That is exact word. There is no proper word I found in English. So them regarding inclusion by controversial nation, they are trying to say controversial nation. They are themselves controversial. Either you talk the Russia, America, and UK, France, China. And just for instance, Japan bid is heavily opposed by China, North Korea, Russia, South Korea. Although China and Russia are the permanent member, who think Japan still needs to make additional atonement of war crimes committed during World War II. But who created that is already on, everybody knows if you see. And under the leadership of Italy, countries that strongly oppose G4 countries bid have formed the Uniting the Consensus Movement, or the club imposed many of the regional powers and oppose the rise of some nearby country to permanent member status. Otherwise, if you see the Spain and Germany, and if you see the, I think currently Bharat was not opposed by any P5 nations who are the permanent member. In Europe, the Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Denmark, Greece, Hungary, Italy, Malta, and Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Romania, Serbia, and Spain oppose a seat for all united just for the Germany. Your Spain also included. In Africa, Namibia also put Germany's bid. Latin America, just you tell in Latin America and African countries should be included also. In Latin America, Argentina, Bolivia, Colombia, Costa Rica, Mexico, Peru, Uruguay, and Venezuela oppose seat for the Brazil. In Asia, Pakistan, there is no way, but there are always just this is called the really thankless country. Pakistan opposes, Bharat beat. So this is the interlinking politics, we can say, and the how already G4 already suggested for the African nations, just to addition to including the enlarged UNSC, but more than years, but no expansion. Why and what for? Why not? This is a matter of G4, but more to be included, more powerful, more than 10 countries by the military wise, as I told you, already there. They should be included. Why not? But just how the hurdles has been created. Do you think the hurdle will be just wipe out and that will be good for the world? There are two questions. One for the peacekeeping, another was the politics of G4, related politics of G4.
What are the blue helmets doing? They're doing nothing, just keeping in peace. I mean, what do they do? Because on one side we have the UN forces, the peacekeeping forces. On the other side we have the global policemen. You can always criticize Russia because it's easy to criticize because the media, Hollywood, everything is controlled by United States of America. So, for example, in case we talk about democracies, we talk about liberties, where is the liberty of expression of Russians today? Why are there bloggers? Why are there TV channels and the radio channels and everything being blocked on YouTube or in the media? RT is being blocked. So, and
Google also blocked the Russian,
exactly,
so many
exactly,
Russian
exactly.
channels and
So
all. Yeah.
what is United Nations doing? Where are the principles of democracy being applied to Russia? Or is it that democracy, which means that or the principles of democracy, when we talk about them, they can be applied or they can be taken away according to wills and fancies of a certain group of nations. Now this is not acceptable, and that is where United Nations has to step in. So instead of United Nations doing the world policeman, is it not normal? Is it not natural that it should be United Nations which should be doing the global policing? That's more logical than United States of America doing the global.
You meant by like NATO is doing the policing work instead of United Nations, right?
No,
That's what
but
you mean.
NATO is doing the policing work only for its member states, and then they go and instigate other countries which they want. And I think this we have been talking about this. Mr. Tiwari also said that it's a Russia and Ukraine war. I don't think it is a Russia and Ukraine war. This has got many other things which eyes cannot see. United States does not want Europe to come together. They don't want euro because it hurts their own dollar currency. Then there's a third thing is that they don't want Germany and Russia to unite together, and or Russia having good relationship with the Europeans, which is a very natural thing because after the downfall of USSR, the most natural and normal thing was that the whole of Europe becomes one country, or at least they have a more harmonious relationship between one another. But that is not in the interest of the United States of America. And then we use United Nations only as a forum, which means it has got no executive powers. And if they don't have any executive powers, these four or five nations, it can be China, it can be Russia, it can be United States of America, UK and France, they can do what they feel like. I mean, nobody's stopping them anywhere. Who's going to stop them? And whenever they want to do something, if the expansion plan is there could be this G4 you're talking about. That's the more logical thing to do. I think even with this G4 group, let's say the Arab world or the Latin American world or Africa would not be well represented. And with Germany, inclusion of Germany, there will be at least 3 or 4 of the same group. Which means UK, France, Germany, and United States of America. They are 4 represented from the NATO group. So, in case there is voting in the the so-called group which will be having veto power, they will join together and they'll re-veto that thing in case there was some kind of democracy to be used in the veto power countries, which is not the case. Once it is vetoed, it's vetoed. No questions asked at all. So that is another thing. So I think in case the nations, the United Nations, they can, propose, or there are countries which are interested, like India is one of those countries which is interested in becoming part of the Security Council. Then there should be a democratic election of countries who are going to enter the Security Council, and other nations should be voting for this. You've been talking about Pakistan is opposing India. What does Pakistan? Where does Pakistan stand on world
It's a matter
scenario?
of record. That's I mentioned. Nothing else.
It doesn't stand anywhere. In case you say that so many countries are opposing Germany, like Spain is opposing Germany, which is kind of strange because in the European Union, most of the funding is coming from Germany only. So in case they're trying to make Europe a united Europe with single currency and everything and governance in the same case, this is happening. And what is happening in the Security Council? Security Council should be providing security to the weaker nations.
Yeah.
But they are the ones who are going and
That is not
invading the
happening. That is
weaker
not happening.
nations. They are
That
going
is
and
not.
invading the weaker nations. Or one nation, because
And
it has some
here
vested
this
interest
point,
and it
Tiwari
has
is
got
right.
money power and
Russia should not
army power.
just behave
It
with
is playing games even with the very powerful nations in Europe. For example, I think with this war, what has happened is America has shattered the European dream. Absolutely, it is in their favor, and they have created trouble in the Russian backyard, which is also in their favor. So the only countries which is winning this war is United States of America, neither the Europeans nor the Russians.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you. Thank you.
may I just a small
Tiwari, we
intervention?
have only some 50
Okay,
seconds.
one intervention. Although Alok Larji has brought a brilliant topic here, point here, but I tend to disagree with this right now, because what happened in Afghanistan afterwards, this is another weakening sign. Means you are trying to put all kind of embargo on Russia, and they, assuming that they did not knew this, they cannot. It means that's like how do I say, uh, America and NATO, they are not the principal, and Russia is not a child in of their school. Equivalent veto power on a morality ground, you cannot teach Russia anything, definitely. So
Sir,
some
Tiwari,
sort of,
but matter of concern here, what we are just discussing, I think just for the 20 seconds with both of you, do we think in the next 5 years, whatever this already have the history we have seen since just the inception of the P5 countries, permanent member of the UNSC, they are allow whatever they try to play the politics and the world affairs. Do you think both of you that they allow the other countries to be in the next 5 years to seeing the present politics and circumstances? Yes or
I
no?
don't see. I sir,
Thank you.
Alok, please go ahead.
Alokji. Alokji.
Can you repeat the last part, please?
I think, do you think the P5 will allow any country, including Bharat, in any
To be
whatever
the part of
G4,
Security Council,
in a part of
or
the
their
UNSC in
vetoes
next 5 years or next 10
in
years?
the next coming five
Any
years.
hope? Any
Hope.
any scenario? Any equation? Do you think so?
I mean, for them, it is, maintaining the status quo is very good for them. Why would they let other nations come in?
That's
I mean,
good.
that's it.
That's right.
I'd just
So,
like to
but
say one thing to Mr. Tiwari, that Russia never invaded Afghanistan. It was USSR. Over to you, Rakeshji.
Well,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
name. That's
No,
name.
no,
Russia
it's,
is
it
No,
should
Russia.
no,
not
no, sir.
be, because in case we were talking about Russia,
USSR was a
then
different. Rules was
Ukraine
different.
was part of it, and
We don't have
Ukraine.
that much time. Okay.
And let's not forget that Stalin came from Ukraine. He was the president of Russia. Russia for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
For me, it
That's
is
A
USSR.
lot of
No,
Russian
what you
leaders
cannot say
at the
is
time they
then
were
in
from
that
there.
case, Poland, Lithuania, all
Not
these
Poland,
countries
not
which are
Poland.
not
Poland was
there,
not
Georgia,
part of Russia.
Albania,
Romania, they would
all.
not have
Yeah.
been. They were as much a part to that invasion of Afghanistan.
So nice.
Then,
Just actually whatever you presume that Tiwari ji and Alok ji don't think so. The
Hmm.
P5 will allow the either P4 and any P10 any
Ca- ca-
countries just
may,
for the
may,
just inclusion the UNSC with their powers. There is a matter of power struggles.
let me
That is
say
our
this.
subject just to thrust upon.
Let
So
let
nice of
me
you.
let
Thank
me
you. So thank
let
you.
me
And
remind
just
you about your 5 years. Right now, 5 years, nobody knows the way this whole matter has escalated. I don't. I miss. If some miracle happens, I don't know. I think United Nations have fallen already, and and there is another something has to be created, because I don't think this, as agreeing with the Alok Larji, that this five veto power having nations, they are not going to give up their power for
actually,
sure.
why
They
that
are
that's the
not going to
natural
give.
question. But whatever the power struggle is just surrounding and from the world affairs,
World
I
War
think
will. I think this war. I don't see any future in it.
no, actually, nobody can say nobody wants the war. But if you think the way how the victory countries become the member of P5 on the basis of World War II, so I think you are going to think on the one of World War III. The many countries should be included in the UNSC. Sorry, I don't think like that, and I should not. We should not like the human being. There's a thing like that. So nice of you just we discuss the reforms of United Nations. I think hope for the best. But first, this is the matter of the peace, and the UN peacekeeping force should act something, and whatever something policing and some of the security also. Peace and security should be the top agenda on United Nations. But sorry to say, only the Mr. Guterres is issuing only the mere statement. A statement will not work to the control and maintain the peace either in Ukraine or any part of the world. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.